I'm a fiber artist living at the base of an active volcano, and I've been mesmerized by Kilauea, trying to understand her through textiles, the way it moves, the colors, the composition, the builds, the formation. Most of my larger works are in galleries now, but here in the cozy studio, it looks a little different. This is where it all starts. This is where I begin with small embroidered studies, little applique pieces, nothing really final, nothing too precious or fixed. It's just a way of taking what's in my head and bringing it into my hands, bringing it into the world. They're kind of become my sketchbook, a place to try color, shapes, movement, and see what happens without needing for it to make sense yet. Because starting doesn't come from clarity or knowing all the answers, it comes from action, it comes from doing, it comes from movement. And the opposite of that movement, stagnation, is where I get really stuck. I had these two pieces that I've been working on in the studio for a while, and they were mostly finished, but not quite yet. And I kept looking at them, trying to think about it, trying to figure it out what it needed, adjusting in my head, reworking things mentally without touching the piece, spending a lot of time around the work without actually touching it. And it felt really productive, but nothing was changing. No solutions were coming. It wasn't until I picked up the tool again and started tufting that things began to move. Not precisely, not with clarity, not perfectly, not all at once, but that movement was enough to break through that stagnation. It was enough to see what was working. It was enough to notice what wasn't, what felt good, what colors were working, enough to make that next decision happen. And that's when it started to click. It started to build momentum. And that's when I realized that so much of what I thought I needed to figure out beforehand was actually going to land in the perfect timing as I was actually making. The act of making itself wasn't the final step, but it was what made everything else possible. And that's been the major shift. Less waiting for the right time, the right answer, the right design, and more time creating, practicing, creating conditions where the next step, the next project can naturally bloom. And the same thing's happening with the shop. If I'm being so honest here, it's just between us girlfriends, it's a little early, way too early, probably. And in a perfect world, I'd have more pieces, I'd have a stronger marketing plan, there'd be more photos, more time for buildup of excitement, more certainty. But what happens when I wait for that feeling is that I wait longer than I need to. And I miss the part where I actually get to learn. I get that feedback because the real lessons aren't in preparing things. They're in the actual doing, in the making, in the sharing and seeing what connects, what lands, what feels good in the making and in the processing at the end and figuring out things as they're happening. And I realize that the worst case scenario isn't failure. It's just stopping. It's just that stagnation. It's freezing. It's overthinking. It's spiraling. It's anxiety. The reality is if you do things before you're ready, it's just maybe a little quieter, a little softer, a little less momentum. Maybe ego gets bruised, but the trade is experience, it's movement, it's growth. And that exchange of ego death and growth feels so worthwhile. It's letting it be progress. It's letting it show up just the way it needs to. It's trusting that the path will reveal itself the same way it always does by being on the path, by walking it. And that's the invitation. It's not when you're ready. It's not waiting until you're ready, but to start, to let things teach you to take that initial creative leap. Thank you for leaping with me, being alongside me, and I'm wishing you just the best making, and I'll see you soon.